Welcome to Green TV, the show dedicated to positive Green New Deal solutions and the candidates that advocate for them. I'm Gail Parker.
And I'm Angela Trusty. Today we have in studio with us candidate for Virginia Green Party, Will King. Will King is one of only 5 candidates on the ballot in the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. More on Will King's candidacy later.
Green TV is about Green New Deal solutions, eco-jobs for the economy, new jobs, positive solutions, eco-capitalism. Prices must tell the environmental truth.
Green TV is about the green industrial revolution, solar jobs, wind jobs, geothermal jobs, rail jobs, weatherization jobs, conservation and efficiency jobs.
Green TV is about building green neighborhoods, walkable, bikeable, pedestrian, and rail-friendly communities, having cleaner air and cleaner water, cutting taxpayer subsidies to zero for fossil fuel, big oil, and big auto.
Rail built anywhere in America can benefit all of America. Rail can move people, the economy, and the nation forward. And now, these short messages.
I'm Audrey Clement, the independent candidate for Arlington County Board. As a 13-year Westover resident and civic activist with a PhD in political science and service as a congressional fellow, I'm running for County Board because Arlington faces several crises that County Board has failed to address. Among them, overcrowded schools, loss of green space, and an office vacancy rate double the historic average. If elected, I pledge to emphasize basic services like streets, schools, libraries, and public safety, seek tax relief for residences and businesses, and stop the exodus of federal agencies from Arlington, promote consolidation of housing programs to improve efficiency, promote installation of efficient renewable energy in all public schools, and provide a voice on County Board for all taxpayers. If you share my agenda, then spread the word about my candidacy. Donate to my campaign. Together we can make the Arlington way more than an empty phrase. I'm Audrey Clement, and I authorized and paid for this.
In 2005, Gail Parker's More Trains, Less Traffic campaign made Gail the first candidate in Virginia to run on the platform for rail. Gail is the first candidate in the nation to run for public office on a campaign advocating for rail as a national security concern that makes the U.S. independent of fossil fuels and makes our air and water healthier. As an on-ballot candidate, Gail advocated for rail in 11 consecutive campaigns, including 2 state-level campaigns for U.S. Senate, and encouraged other candidates to include rail in their platforms. In addition, Gail serves the environment through renewable energy advocacy, and as she picks up steam, the rail platform now champions the handicapped and the elderly. A proud Air Force veteran, civil servant, mother, and grandmother, Gail is on a mission to show that rail built anywhere in America benefits all of America.
33,000 Americans are killed on our roadways every year. 430,000 Americans are injured or maimed on our roadways every year. Every year. Rail is safer. Rail saves lives. Rail cuts dependency on fossil fuels. We can build high-speed rail nationwide for half the total cost of rebuilding roadways and bridges. Rail is fiscally conservative and socially responsible.
If you share Gail's belief that every American deserves a say in the decisions that affect their lives, spread the word about this positive solution to today's issues and climb aboard our campaign for rail and renewable energy.
These petition signatures were collected from thousands of Americans for more trains and less traffic. I'm Gail Parker, and I approved this message.
After 25 years of service to his country in the military and federal law enforcement, 4th-generation veteran Will King is ready to serve his community directly in the House of Delegates.
Hi, I am Will King. Years of service have prepared me to serve, and I am ready. It is time to put an end to politicians fighting and serving only themselves. People are struggling, and it's time to get to work. Neither Democrat nor Republican, I will be an independent voice and will serve only you and work for your interests, not the interests of party politics. For this reason, I take no corporate PAC money, so I will work only for you, not a corporate donor. We need to bring jobs to Virginia, fix our health care, protect our freedoms, keep our communities safe, reduce restrictions on small businesses and on small farms, protect our environment, and better prepare our children for a successful future.
Elect Will King this November and send an independent voice for you to Richmond.
I am Will King, and I approve this message.
China is authorizing an increase in their high-speed rail to 350 kilometers per hour. That equates to about 217 miles per hour. The new trains will be running between Shanghai and Beijing at a speed eventually of 400 kilometers per hour, which is about 250 miles per hour. It will cut their trip down from 4.5 hours to 3.5 hours. Current speeds are allowed only up to 186 miles per hour.
You are watching Green TV, the show dedicated to positive New Deal solutions and the candidates who advocate for them. We are excited to have Will King in studio with us today. Will King, candidate for Virginia House of Delegates, District 18. While Will is joining us, I want to start by just telling a little bit about him. Will King knew at an early age that he wanted to make a difference. Will grew up in a farming community near Lansing, Michigan. Retired from the U.S. Federal Air Marshal Service, and now lives in Bealton, Virginia. Welcome, Will.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Gail.
So as I said, we're very excited to have you with us. It's always a treat to have candidates come join us. Start by just telling us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm a 46-year-old retiree, a little too young. So I decided I wanted to still serve my community and be involved, so I decided to run for office. I grew up in Michigan, was going to college, and the state hit a recession back in '92. And police academies were going down as far as numbers from 4 to 2, and the state police academies where I was really trying to go were completely shut down. So I joined the family legacy and went in the Navy. I spent 10 years active duty and decided I still had that itch to be a police officer. So I started at the U.S. Capitol Police in 2003. While there, I was a uniformed officer. I worked in the Senate chambers. And that was my first exposure to how government really runs that people don't know about. From there, I moved on to what's called the hazmat response team, where we worked with chemical, biological, radiological weapons that were a threat to the U.S. Capitol. And then in 2007, I decided to make a transition to the U.S. Federal Air Marshal Service. And while there, I did quite a few different things. One of them was holding an above top secret clearance where my job was to investigate terrorists and their movements. And also support other agencies with the Joint Terrorism Task Force. So I had a lot of experience seeing how things that you see public are not always the whole story. And then in 2015, I medically retired.
I see. Well, wonderful. And do you have a family?
Yes,
Will?
my wife and I live in Bealton. It's a little area just south of Warrenton. It's about 12 miles south of Warrenton and 16 miles north of Culpeper. It's a very small, quiet area right now that's starting to see some expansion. But it's a transient area. So you have two major transient routes that run through there, Route 17 and Route 28. So it's a lot of farmlands. I have a farm in my backyard, so I get to see that every morning. It's nice and quiet.
Now, you mentioned just as you were sharing kind of your history and what brought you to today, there seems like service has been a big part of your life. Did you ever imagine that you're running here for District 18, did you ever imagine that you'd be a candidate running for office?
Well, no, I didn't, but when I told my mom and dad, they said we knew it.
Oh, so they knew, okay.
I guess it was just something they saw that I never looked at, so yeah.
And you're affiliated with the Green Party?
I am.
How did you become affiliated with the Green Party?
Well, I'll say it, Gail. It wasn't one thing. I didn't wake up one morning and decide I was going to run and be a part of the Green Party, and I didn't attend a meeting and say I'm going to run either. It was a series of events. You look at the election last year was awful. I thought we lost a lot of integrity as a nation, and the fact that we're still talking about the election today in this process, I think, reaffirms that. When I decided I wanted to run, I didn't know what specific position to run for, number one. And number two, when I started looking into it, to run as an independent, you have to be independently wealthy and have had to run a campaign before, either as somebody on the staff or as a candidate. I had neither. So I just happened to be at a farmer's market, and they were asking for Jill Stein ballot signatures. I signed that, and I signed up for the emails because I was also looking around to see what else was out there. I was not going to be part of the legacies. I wanted to make sure that I got to be who I am, stay true to who you are. And when I met the Piedmont Green Party, the campaign manager that I have now, his name is Tim Cotton, was also the co-chair. And I said, hey, Tim, you know, private, I think I might want to run for office. He says, well, good, let me know. I used to run a lot of campaigns. Little did I know the actual depth that he had running campaigns. But meeting with Tim, talking with him, it was a good 2-month process. Started looking into it September, and then by the end of October, around Halloween, I decided, okay, we're going to run for delegate. Made the announcement in November. In November, I did my nomination speech. Picked up a good volunteer. His name is Brian. He's out in the studio now. Been a huge help. And we've been hitting the ground running. We filed our paperwork on January 1st. We had our mailbox, our bank account set up with a credit union on the 27th of December. So on January 3rd, the first Monday at 9 o'clock, I was out getting signatures right then.
Wow. Give us a peek into your campaign. You kind of mentioned that you hit the ground running.
Yep.
What does some of the work look like that you're doing? What are some of the things that are really important to you guys? Share with us.
The first, we go through phases. So right now we're in phase 3. It's totally different. What we were told is, the entire team was told, the complexion of what you see now is not going to be the same in 5 months, 6 months. It's going to be a totally different thing. So the first thing I want to do is I wanted to get in and meet the small business owners. The 18th district is very rural. The whole mom and pop store is what you see, what you get there. Main streets are all lined up like that. Now you'll see some chain stores, but they're not very prevalent in our district. So I knew if I could get the small business owners aside with me and kind of move in that direction, things would help me there. And that's been a huge, huge help for us. Very fortuitous meeting, the printer that the first order we made for the little stickers, just to start handing out the stickers to people. And he wanted to meet me. Now he says that their office helps every campaign, every candidate. You know, they don't have a bias or anything. And he said he wanted to talk to me because he was very concerned about the delegate race. And within 15 to 20 minutes, he's like, I like you, I'm going to support you. And that door opened up a lot of things. And everything has been natural, it's been organic in the sense of how the message is spread. People are seeing us and recognizing us. Now, if you think about this, there are two opponents, but they don't have a visibility that we do. We've already been interviewed at least 6 times. Yes, you're averaging 1 a month, and every time the paper, they do more justice to us. The social media presence is growing as much as we can with that. And the best part is that we can separate ourselves from both. Because as we use what I call green conservatism. Okay, what we do is enact agricultural, conservation, environmental programs with the emphasis on small businesses and job creation for our district. When you talk to people and you get them to focus on that message, not what the party's lines are, they start to see that you're genuine about it, and they like that. And then most importantly, when you tell them you're not working for anybody but them, now they're a lot more receptive to the message.
Super. Well, is campaigning what you thought it would be?
I had no idea what to expect campaigning. I can say that I think it's just the work ethic that I have, is that when I wake up, I already know I'm 2 steps behind because I'm not established. So I have to go out every day and work twice as hard as everybody else. And then I put that emphasis on my campaign team. I know it sounds funny. There's a football coach named Jim Harbaugh from the University of Michigan. I followed the University of Michigan football when I was a kid. And he had a quote that says that we're going to attack each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. And I tell my team is that when it's your turn to step up and get involved, I want you to have that same mentality, because we're not going to win otherwise. And these guys are busting, and they're hustling out there. We had one of the guys today was out canvassing neighborhoods already. We started canvassing last month. So he was knocking doors this morning at 10 o'clock. We picked him up and brought him out here for the interview. So that's the dedication that we have, and that's making a huge difference for us.
I see. And does your background in the Navy help you?
The veteran service does help quite a bit. And you being an Air Force veteran, you understand is that you're able to connect with somebody that's served in that sense. The 18th District is well represented with veterans. We have 2 American Legion posts and 1 VFW post in the area. I'm also a member of another one I can't say because of the nonprofit organization stance with it. But when I tell them that I've also volunteered, I'm very involved as a chapter service officer, so I'm not just talking about taking care of veterans, I'm actually doing it. They see that as well, and that opens up that door that normally wouldn't open because they only vote a certain way.
I see. Well, Tell us about some of your issues and your positive solutions.
Sure. What we want to start with is education reform, the standards of learning. Our children are the single greatest investment we can make in our future, but when we look at the standards of learning and the processes, we're teaching them to take a test. We're not teaching them to interact with the subject material. The teachers are under very strict guidelines, so we need to open that up for teachers, to have more flexibility with the curriculum, allow them some more student-teacher interaction time, things that when I grew up as a kid were very important. Then we're also looking at some reform for the community college. We want to make it more affordable and more accessible. A student should not be turned down to go to community college because their parents either make too much money or have a bad credit report. That should not be an influencing factor. We also, in our area especially, want to expand vocational and trade opportunities. Now, the schools do have vocational opportunities from farming and whatnot, but where I went to school in Michigan, we have what's called a career center. You spent 2 years going through a special program that by the time you were done was a college level certificate and took time off your school. So we need to get something in like that. The idea behind it is if I take a 19-year-old kid into school, they already have so many credits already earned because they were taking more of these classes. They will graduate faster, accrue less debt, and join the workforce faster. That's a very big emphasis to us. Agriculturally, we want to work on soil erosion. We want to help out with BMPs, conservation easements. We have a lot of folks with conservation easements up in northern Fauquier County. Those are important to us. Environmentally, I think that's something I was very glad to see you folks talk about, renewable energy. That is a big emphasis for us. We are surrounded by solar industry, solar companies, but not one of them is actually within the 18th district. So I want to see what I can do to make renewable energy more attractive and bring somebody in. One of the things I learned is that for every one person that makes a solar panel, that creates 4 or 5 sales jobs. So we're looking at an expanding market that's growing 12 times faster than any other energy source, employment, but we're not really focusing on that. And then you see today that the gubernatorial candidates, after the first debate, Dominion Energy is sponsoring the after party. Gee, I wonder why we can't get anything done there. I also want to look at CO2 emissions. You folks up here in Fairfax deal with traffic, as you mentioned, rail's an alternative. So what I want to look at doing is introducing legislation that will provide tax credits for the purchase of electric hybrid vehicles. I want to also do the same for home residential solar as well. We have it now for small businesses, but we didn't do that for homes. So I want to make sure we look at expanding on that. Also, electric car charging stations. We have a lot more electric cars on our roads now, but the charging stations are few and far between. So I want to look at, can we do something like that at rest stops, your commuter lots? And for a district like mine where tourism, agritourism is very important, the wineries and whatnot, and now you have a lot of breweries that are popping up. These are things that will help bring in tourism, especially with these folks that would normally be in Northern Virginia that are going to drive down and spend their money in my district, and that's very important. And the best part is that you're shopping local, you're buying local, and you're employing local, because you need a local construction company to do the build out, you need a local electrician to run the charging station and maintain it. So it's keeping everything local to us.
So these are really impactful areas of focus for a campaign and also for a community. I wonder, how did you come to zero in on these? As you talked about the CO2 emissions, you talked about agriculture. How did you come to zero in on these particular areas? Like, was it from talking with people? Was it just observing what's happening in your community?
All the above. All the above. The CO2 emissions was, we were at a meet and greet, and it was raised to us, and we had pretty much our environmental platform already set, but we're like, that's a very important issue, because I believe it's around 60-some% of the people in Fauquier County alone transit north. So you have a lot of people living here, but working up in Northern Virginia, and it's like, well, that's a good emphasis. We can take that, because that is part of it. When you look at CO2 emissions, it's one of the things that we look at every day. I always call it the parking lot of 66 or the parking lot of 95 when I used to have to run around it. So is there something that we can do that has meaningful impact? And I believe that's something that we can work on. The other parties, the other legacies would like to increase the fuel tax on hybrid vehicles because they don't go to the gas stations as much. I don't believe that's a good solution. Virginia already pays the highest out of the entire nation in that sense. So the idea would be to maybe put more electric hybrid vehicles on the roads instead of having more fossil fuels. And so that way you're not paying that tax, you don't have to worry about it. So.
Well, true to my nickname, Gail for Rail, I've got to ask a rail question.
I brought up that with industrialized hemp, because that's also a part of our platform, is making industrialized hemp legal, because with 10 acres, a small farm can turn a profit and actually survive instead of just getting by here and there and whatnot. What I mentioned was that with hemp, you're going to need to improve infrastructure around the state, because the entire state can take hemp and make it the new cash crop, move tobacco completely out, put hemp in there. The state of Kentucky went from 0 to $30 million in 3 years in growth. So something like that is going to force rail. It's going to enforce, better roadways and more efficient transportation systems, because you're going to be moving a lot of it. If we can get a processing plant in Virginia, we can have a 2-year head start on the rest of the nation. So these are things that we should really be focusing on. But as far as rail, the one question I did ask is, like, would anybody be interested in Metro coming down this way? And I got a big no. So, but Rappahannock County, where we'd have to go through, is very traditional. They don't want a lot of change, and that would be a challenge for them.
Right, and actually, we would advocate for something like commuter rail, like the VRE Express, rather than Metro Rail. It's more practical for longer distances, and it goes to Manassas right now, in that area in Fredericksburg.
It's not. It wouldn't be too far, because I know there's an Amtrak in Culpeper, but the first VRE starts in Bristow, which isn't very far. It's maybe 20 minutes. So it's possible. These are things that can be looked at and worked on. It's just a matter of could these citizens approve that? So.
Well, we're talking today with Will King, candidate for delegate from Virginia's 18th Delegate District, House of Delegates. And Will, you have presented yourself as a very, very viable candidate.
Thank you.
I am very impressed, and I'm not easily impressed. So that you're doing very well, and so tell us some more. Have you more about your issues or your campaign?
And I think something else people might want to know is, after watching this, where can they go to learn more about you? Also, if they've got some ideas where they think, hey, I feel good about Will King, I want him to think about how he might build this idea into his platform, into his issues. How do people connect with you?
Sure. We have our Nation Builder site, so it's willkingfordelegate.com. You can go there. You connect with us. We have a interactive message system where you send us an email. We usually respond within 24 hours. It's very rare it takes any longer than that. I don't think it's actually happened yet at all. We're very in tune with what people's concerns are. We also have a Facebook site that's Will King for Delegate. We also have a Veterans for Will King site that is veteran specific. And then it's just, a lot of times people just send me a text message, hey, can you have coffee? And we'll talk, and like, yeah, we'll make it happen.
Wonderful.
And being accessible is very important. And the one thing I will say, and I thank you for asking that question, is that I am working for the 18th District primarily, but everything we do is going to impact and resonate throughout the state. So we don't leave anyone out. But I will, as I say in the military, lead from the front. We're going to make the 18th the #1 district in environmental programs. We're going to be the most ecologically safe and sound, and we're going to increase our agritourism to make people turn the 18th into a destination. And that's going to go everywhere. That's the idea. So we start small, we grow big.
One other rail question. I've often been approached by winemakers wanting rail service to the wineries. It's socially responsible, keeps inebriated folks off the roads. They can get on the rails. And it seems like a great idea to me. And there are a lot of wineries in your district?
There are quite a few wineries. As far as the rail, it's a, I want to say it would be an issue of getting the rails to those locations. When I mentioned Rappahannock County, for example, Rappahannock County is still fighting on whether they want broadband. Some people want it, and some people definitely don't want it. So you're looking into infringing onto their homes and their property. These are some things that we've also thought about, is how can we get people to do more wine tours safely without being hazards to themselves and to other citizens.
What congressional district is 18 in?
18 encompasses all of Rappahannock County, parts of Warren County. Front Royal is the best example of what gerrymandering can do to harm voting districts, because you can literally be on the wrong side of a street and be in a totally different district. Two of my biggest supporters in that, who help on the campaign volunteering, live on the other side of the street. So they're taken out of the ability to vote for us. But it's gerrymandered to 4 different districts. Not saying all of Fauquier, parts of Fauquier, because even Fauquier is gerrymandered quite a bit out of it.
Where do you live?
In Fauquier County.
Which congressional district do you live in?
Oh, it's CD5, Congressional District 5.
5, 5, okay.
Yep.
All right, that's very good to know. I think we're just about out of time, and we have a short clip on renewable energy.
Are you spending a large portion of your paycheck each month on a high electricity bill? Over the last 30 years, utility rates have continued to increase by about 6% per year. Unless you stop turning on your lights, using your kitchen, and washing your clothes, it'll just keep getting more and more expensive. And that's the bad news. But here's the good news. You have a choice. You can now tap into the sun's natural energy and use it to power everything in your home without having to write a big check to a power company at the end of each month. Here's how it works. Every day, sunlight will stream down onto your solar panels with photons, which are particles of sunlight. Then, the solar panels convert those photons into electrons of electricity using photovoltaic cell technology. The amount of electricity generated depends on the intensity of the sun, but even on cloudy days, your solar panels will still absorb sunlight and generate you energy. Once the energy is transferred from the sun, it flows from the solar panels to an inverter that converts the raw electricity into ready-to-use electricity for your home. You don't have to do anything. What's even better, solar electric systems can produce more electricity than your home needs, and the extra you do not use goes back to your utility grid. This is called net metering, and you'll be able to enjoy watching your utility meter spin backwards. Then at night or on cloudy days when your solar system is not producing enough energy for your home, you will be able to draw power down from the grid, so you never have to worry about running out of electricity. And if you are producing more energy than your household requires, then you'll get a credit from the utility company. You'll feel good about your solar investment, not only because it will provide you with a lucrative annual return that you can rely on, saving you thousands of dollars on long-term utility costs, but because you'll be doing your part in providing a safer planet for you, your family, and future generations. Best of all, it's a lot more affordable than you might think. If you're ready to stop wasting money on high electricity bills and start harnessing the free power that's available to you right now, just give us a call. Mention this video and our friendly team will be able to answer all your questions.
You're watching Green TV, and we've been talking today with Will King, candidate, Green Party candidate for Virginia's 18th district. Thanks very much for being on our show,
Thank
Will.
you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Nice meeting you.
Pleasure, Angela.
Yeah, thanks.
Renewable energy is free energy. It's clean energy. Rail is safer and can run on renewable energy. We need more trains and less traffic. Rail built anywhere in America benefits all of America. That's it for today's Green TV. I'm Gail Farrell-Parker with Angela Trusty.
Yes.
Please join us again next time for Green TV.